This is Becca.
This is Jordon.
And this is the Facepalm Report.
Your source for all the news, politics, and pop culture, which is truly facepalm worthy.
Okay, so we want to talk a little bit this week about the new Disney extravaganza, Oz the Great and Powerful, because it's problematic.
Well, okay,
yeah.
Before we dive into the sort of big issues with this, can I just get away the little nitpicks I had with this movie?
Yes, go.
Okay, so for this huge production, it was kind of boring. The characters were kind of flat, and the CGI was pretty until it interacted with the real people, and it fell apart. So part of me feels like dealing with some of these larger issues, like we'll get into the sort of how it's strangely anti-feminist given its source material, but as a movie, I didn't find that it worked. It was...
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with anything you said. I mean, I'm a huge Oz fan, and I always have been since I was a little kid. So I, went into it with a certain, sense of wonder and, wanted to enjoy it and didn't really even pay that much attention to all of the things that were wrong with it when I saw it. And then I got home, and I was like, I went to see the Oz movie. And my friend Katie said, I heard that was really, really problematic about it from a feminist perspective. And I, sat back and I was like, oh.
The refrigerator problem. You don't realize it till you open the refrigerator late at night and you go, oh. I had a similar experience with the movie Avatar. I saw that movie, it was really pretty, and I thought it was interesting, and then later I opened it up, you sit there and you sit down and you go, oh.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I mean, I feel that way about, even the things that you're saying, like the CGI and the characters and everything. Because when I was seeing it, I was so in this headspace of being a 7-year-old girl and just wanting to love it. And then
somebody had to shatter it for you.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that for the rest of the people here.
Yeah, we're going to ruin it for you. I hope you're all ready.
All right.
So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, so give us a bit of background here, because I think the background becomes really important to why this movie becomes problematic.
I totally agree with you. Okay, so the Oz stories were written by L. Frank Baum, and he was a man, but he was married to a woman who had attended Cornell, and she didn't graduate because she quit school to marry him. And I think that was always something that was a little weird in their relationship. I think he felt very guilty about that. But despite that, there was no question that his wife definitely wore the pants in their relationship and was in charge of the house and in charge of everything. And he was totally cool with that. He thought women were really great. He thought his wife was awesome. And his mother-in-law was Matilda Joslyn Gage, who was a noted feminist in her time. And they spent a lot of time together. And there's a lot of belief that the character of Dorothy, and the most sort of famous Baum heroine, is based on Matilda Joslyn Gage. And Baum wrote 17 stories based in Oz, and every single one of them has a female protagonist. They are. Even though there's one story where the main character starts out as a boy, but it turns out that a wicked witch has put a spell on him, and he's actually a girl, and he's transformed back to his correct gender in the course of the story and becomes Princess Ozma, which is pretty progressive when you really think about it.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's also one of his stories where a woman general leads a female army wielding knitting needles against the men of Oz.
Okay.
So it's definitely it's very much a feminist narrative. Baum was really into women. He thought they were fascinating. He thought they were strong and interesting, and that we should treat them like people, which
Pshaw.
I mean, I think it's nuts, but, you know, whatever. So you're working with this sort of incredibly rich source material. And what does Disney decide to do? They make the main character of their movie a man.
Well, so we'll cut them some slack. They wanted to tell you, okay, how the wizard got there. So, all right. I can give them, I'll give them that. Like, okay, we want to figure out how the wizard got there, and like having him be also from Kansas, and like there's that beginning scene where he's talking to that woman, and she's talking about marrying John Gale, who is Dorothy Gale.
Presumably Dorothy's father.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, okay, so there's this nice little tie-in. That's fine. Like, even having him be the main character isn't the worst thing in the world. It's the fact that all the women are so like just the whole Theodora is this. She's supposed to be the Wicked Witch. She's the big spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Although not really that spoilers. I mean, I knew before I saw it. So.
Yeah, like because even I knew like the name Theodora she's the Wicked Witch in the Wizard of Oz movie. Just so huge spoiler. So she has to become evil. We know this going in. If you know the name Theodora, you know that she has to become the Wicked Witch at some point, because they couldn't just like not have her be they'd have to hint that she's going to be evil. But this movie, I haven't seen a transition from good to evil so lazy and uninspired since Anakin Skywalker whined his way into being Darth Vader.
I would just want to clarify one thing, is actually the name Theodora was never used until this film, is my belief. She's never named in the books, and I don't think she's named in the 1939 movie either.
But it's the
Wicked Witch of the West. Yeah.
I think I picked her up because my mother-in-law has like read and fell in love with Wicked, and like so I threw off some notes.
She's Elphaba in that. Sorry.
Elphaba? Then where am I getting with Theodora? She's the bad witch. Maybe I got spoiled because I really was trying not to get spoiled for this. Okay.
I mean, they didn't do a very good job hiding it.
Yeah.
So I was kind of confused about why people thought that was a spoiler, but
okay.
Spoiler.
Oh, okay. Then I'm just crazy. I thought maybe I'm just that good. I just saw it coming. I don't know. But no, it was just her. Like I said, it was a really bad transition to bad. Like it was.
Yeah. Pathetic.
It was like, we did it once. He broke my heart. I feel sad. Which okay, fine. I get that. But then and then she just has her eat the apple, and she turns. There was so much you could do with that. How you start with this girl who seemed a little doe-eyed and kind of not that bright.
Yeah, I mean, basically what happens here, guys, is that he gets to Oz and he meets this like beautiful Mila Kunis, absolutely gorgeous woman, who is like, "You're here to save us, and everything's going to be great." And he's like a womanizing jerk, so he tricks her and seduces her, and then she immediately becomes like your clingy, psychotic, stereotypical girlfriend. It's awful.
Well, and like. And for like a reason to become this evil witch, like the entire motivation for her character becomes she got her heart broken, but why?
Why?
Like if it. And part of it is the transition was so unbelievable for me because the characters were kind of flat. Like I might have believed it, because there's this scene where she talks, like in the beginning where they're talking, and she goes, he says things like, "Oh, you're a witch. Well, why don't you have green skin and a broom?" She's like, "You must not know much about witches." And then he later says, "Well, has no one asked you to dance?" She says, "You really don't know much about witches," as if implying that witches in Oz are shunned. But there's no other point in the movie where you really see them shunned. Like, everyone who knows Glinda is like, oh, she's awesome. Everyone's like praising. So I'm not getting this idea of, like, witches in Oz being ostracized. Like, if it had showed later that maybe witches were ostracized and no one liked them, maybe I could see this idea that, like, she was really starved for human affection, like some sort of actual reason for her to be so easily confused.
Well, I think I totally agree with you, but I think the idea behind it is that, you know, she's very good. She's supposed to be good, and her sister says that thing to her when she first gets back to the Emerald City. She says, "You have wickedness deep inside of you." And when she gives her the apple, which she eats, and it's very painful, and she says it's her heart withering away. So the idea is that she's this inherently good person, and that makes her stupid and naive.
Oh, how wonderful! So if you're a good person, you are naive.
I mean, there's lots of really weird equations for what goodness means in that movie. In fact, like the whole idea that they continually equate evil with ugly and good with beautiful. Like, there's this ridiculous scene where Evanora, who's the third witch, the witch who gets the house dropped on her at the beginning of the original Wizard of Oz movie, who's played by Rachel Weisz, is that how you say her name? And she's, like, really hot. Really, really hot. And there's this ridiculous scene where she says something, where she's, like, being all jealous about how pretty Glinda is. And, like, yeah, Michelle Williams is pretty, too. But this is just silly that, you know, like, there's this idea that because Glinda is the good one, she is the beautiful one. And she wears this sort of, like, white bridal princess dress. Meanwhile, the other two witches are in a corset and tight leather pants, respectively.
Yeah, well,
like
that idea of, I think it's one of the problems I found, and it wasn't exposed to me until I watched a lot more British television, was in American television and movies, everyone is pretty. So when they have to sort of like doubly enforce that idea of someone is prettier than everyone else, because in all this sort of TV dramas, so like, oh, he's so dreamy, you know, leaving this other guy behind, you going, they're not that, like, this guy's not an unhandsome dude. Like, they have to reinforce that. It's like that Grey's Anatomy, you know, Dr. McDreamy or whatever. Like, they have to say that to tell you that this guy is more pretty than everyone else.
Or like on Glee, where in the first season they had to, like, constantly talk about how hideous Rachel Berry was.
I know, to, like, reinforce this idea that she's some sort of hideous, you know, monster that no one would ever love. They have to keep enforcing that idea to tell you, oh yeah, so in Oz, like, they have to keep telling you, like, oh, Glinda is so beautiful. When I'm looking at the three witches going, I'm
pretty sure they're all hot.
Yeah, like, it.
Or it's like in the teen movies of our childhood, like, she has glasses and a cardigan and a ponytail. Yeah, she'll never be prom queen.
And then they take off the glasses and pull down the hair, and everyone goes, "Oh God, she's a gorgeous." And you're like, "You're kidding me, right? Like, really?" But
yeah.
So I don't know. And if it, like, had it not come from such a sort of rich material with very powerful, very interesting and in-depth female protagonists, I think if this was just Oz the Great and Powerful, like, in a vacuum, I don't know if it would be as bad, because it was so flat. Even, you know, James Franco's character, it's this, you know, he is this kind of womanizing douchebag.
Buffoon. He's a buffoon.
Yeah, and he's a buffoon. And it's, you know, and it's not like making James Franco, because they never make him a really effective character. Like, he's never becomes this really powerful character. So it's not like you could even say, oh, we're just trying to give, like, boys a hero to look up to, because we know they're lacking so many of those anyway.
Oh yeah, there are no movies about men.
And about, you know, effective men being manly and effective. So, but even at his most effective, because they couldn't, because of the sort of canon that they're shooting for with the next movie, they can't make him that effective, because he has to be the man behind the curtain who can't, you know, who's not really any power, who doesn't really have any great power.
No, he doesn't. And that's the thing that's so frustrating about it, because all three of the women in the movie are legitimately powerful. They are capable of actually performing magic, whereas he is just a big con man. And so it's so frustrating to sit there and watch these three powerful women be like, we're waiting for this man. This man is going to save us, or this man is going to destroy us, or this is the be all and end all of what's going to happen. And they seem to have no concept of the fact that they are capable of great things and of accomplishing things themselves, because they're women and we're not supposed to do that.
Well, it's like I've said before, this was one witch shared shower scene away from a harem anime where and for the uninitiated, harem anime is a subgenre of anime in which basically you usually have a dude who is less effective or not really effective at all, surrounded by very powerful women who all want to bone him. And that's pretty much, and the entire sort of thing is, it was true in this. It was like, you had the Glenda and Theodora both wanting him, and what's her name, pretending to...
Evanora, yeah.
Yeah, pretending to get him to do things. Like, it was a movie about James Franco's dick.
Yeah, and can I make another point about that?
Yeah.
Going back to the original Baum's source material, is that there are no romances at all in any of Baum's stories, because he didn't feel like it was appropriate or something that small children were interested in. So it was never what his stories were about. Like, all of those women were women who like weren't just chasing after a guy. Like, that was never part of it. They had things to get done. They had shit to do. They had an Emerald City to visit, you know?
Well, and in this one, you could have done so much with that idea of the prophecy, because, okay, so there's this prophecy that the wizard saves them. And then, by the time James Franco's character gets to Glenda's city, she knows he's full of it. But but she sort of says, I need you to look like you know what you're doing to inspire the people. And they could have so very easily gone from there into having, you only needed him as a catalyst, not as like an actual, like he doesn't need to fulfill the prophecy because he just needs to be the catalyst. So
right.
But they didn't, and I saw so many opportunities.
Well, just a little background for our listeners here. Jordan and I both wrote novels about prophecies for our final theses.
So yeah.
So we're into prophecies, and maybe prophecies not being exactly what they say they are. But this prophecy was what it said it was.
Yeah, it was. But it's not like. Granted, Disney is not great with originality. But it's not even that original of an idea of the prophecy not being exactly what you think. Like, that's a well-worn path. So it's not like they'd have to break their intellectual bank to sort of to switch around that prophecy and keep it within the sort of idea of the source material. I had mentioned sort of that, the transition was worse than Anakin Skywalker's. This really does sort of feel like the prequels, in that it was a lot of CGI, a lot of big set pieces that really just disappoints the fans of the source material. So, like me, I was not that much personally invested in Oz. But I can feel your pain, because, this was Star Wars for me. This was like, getting really excited about the prequels, and like you watch them and you're amazed, and then you sit down later and you start thinking about it and you go, wait a minute.
And then you're like, Jar Jar Binks, what the hell?
and you sit there and wonder, like, what happened? And then you go, wait. So it's like, if you watch the Wicked Witch of the West, you say, oh, she's this really kind of scary thing, and then you realize she came from Theodora, this doe-eyed nothing of a person who is sort of barely formed. It's like realizing that the Darth Vader came from this whiny brat. You're going, this isn't how this works.
For real, I hear that. I also, I just want to say about Theodora, I'm a big Mila Kunis fan, actually. I think she's hilarious and beautiful, but I thought that this performance was pretty terrible across the board, actually. And particularly awful once she transformed.
and this is one of the things that makes me go, wow, it really wasn't that great of a movie, because it's one of those things where you gotta wonder, like, did the director say, no, less emotion, like, less, give me less, because I don't want you to look like you actually care about what you're doing. And for something as rich and storied as Oz, it is kind of a sin to do what they did to it, to break it down to this very basic, very ineffectual people. Like, they weren't people. They were just these kind of cardboard cutouts of the characters that we're supposed to recognize because they're going to be in the next movie.
Yeah, and like none of them had... I would say none of the women really had motivations that made a lot of sense to me. There's no reason given for Evanora to be evil. She's just evil because she's evil, you know? And there's no reason for Glinda to be good. She's just good because she's the good one. And I'm a writer. I like to see character development and reasons. I like reasons.
Because you want to know these characters. You want to know their motivations. Why Theodora was so sheltered. And they tried to explain it, but then didn't enforce it with anything else. Why is Glenda the Good Witch? Why is Evanora power hungry? Is there a story behind that? And we have no idea. Are they going to do another prequel? Please, God, no.
Oh, God, I hope not. I found myself kind of wanting to, like, sort them into Hogwarts houses in order to, like, understand where they were coming from. Because I could be like, oh, okay, Evanora's a Slytherin, so she's ambitious. And, like, that's something that drives me crazy in Harry Potter, actually, because I feel like, you know, J.K. Rowling was just like, it's okay, all of the people in this house are bad, and we don't really have to think about why.
But no. Rose the ire in me was... Spoiler! If you haven't absorbed Harry Potter through osmosis yet, I'm sorry, I'll spoil this. But through the entire series, they keep saying, oh, Slytherins are just ambitious, they're not evil. And then in the last final battle, it's like, who wants to help defend Hogwarts? Every Slytherin goes, not I! And you go...
Gets the hell out of there!
You spent the entire series telling us they're just ambitious, not evil. And then you say, they're evil!
Well, no, Jordan. She was saying that they had ambitions to stay alive.
Not a single one.
Come on.
Not a single one. It's those failings, when people do that, it hurts me.
I don't like little boxes. I want people to be three-dimensional and real and have motivations and emotions and relationships. That's what I want when I'm experiencing a piece of media, and it's so upsetting to me when that doesn't happen.
And there are certain people that you see in, like, in a TV show, in a book, in a movie, that you're not necessarily going to get their whole story, but you still feel as if they are a fully formed character. Mm-hmm. That even though you might not understand their backstory, you still feel like they have one. I didn't get that in this. And
no,
I don't know if it was the bad writing, or if they just didn't, like, was it a problem with the actors? Was it a problem with the writing? Was it they didn't want to fully form these characters because they were just grabbing for your wallets?
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it was a problem with the writing. I feel like those are... I mean, say whatever you want about James Franco, but that's like that's a talented bunch of actors. Oh. And Sam Raimi is a very talented director. But there's only so much that even great actors and great directors can do with a bad script.
Again, I referenced the Star Wars prequels. You had Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, people who can do wonderful bits, but you can't fix horrible writing.
Nope.
The writing is the foundation of a movie. You can't pull off a movie on a really bad script. The people who will sit there and say like, "Oh, we couldn't do this movie because we didn't have the budget, or we didn't have the right actor." I mean, an actor can seriously blow a role. I'm not going to deny it, but if they don't have good lines, no amount of acting can save just crap.
Nope. You could put Helen Mirren and Ian McKellen and Dame Judi Dench and Sean Connery in a film, and it could be terrible if it was written by a monkey, you know?
1,000 monkeys on 1,000 typewriters.
Could write Twilight.
Oh.
I feel like maybe that's where we should just like call it a day.
Yeah.
We've gotten in our Twilight jab.
Well, and I think in essence the problem with this particular piece, I think it's kind of Disney. Like they fall apart when they try to tackle certain things. Just the frog princess, like, oh, we'll have a black princess, except for
except she'll be a frog the whole movie.
Stop, Disney, just stop. Just stop, take a breath, put on a brain. Disney is
if I only had a brain.
There we go.
In the words of the original Wizard of Oz movie.
And we've brought her around. So yeah, we'll discuss some other things now. But yeah, that's Oz the Great and Powerful. If you've seen it and you liked it, we hopefully ruined it for you. If you haven't seen it, just don't.
I mean, if you haven't seen it and you enjoy Righteous Indignation, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
But
otherwise
give it a miss.
Yeah.
Wait for DVD.
If you have a facepalm-worthy story, please share it with us on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Facepalm Report, on our Twitter account, @Facepalm Report, or try our email, facepalmreport@gmail.com. Thank you.